Hi, everyone. I'm Charlene Shirk, and welcome to Digital Champions, where we speak to some of the most innovative thinkers in the digital space. Joining me today from the West Coast is my co-host, Jared Brick. Hi, Jared. Good to see you.
You too, Charlene. I'm excited for today.
Oh, because we've got John Chen from Engaging Virtual Meetings. Hi, John. Thanks so much for joining us today on Digital Champions.
Thank you. Hello to you, and I'm glad to be here.
All right, engage away, John. Tell us what you do at Engaging Virtual Meetings, and who are some of the customers that you're serving through Engaging Virtual Meetings?
Well, thank you for that. Here, I'm going to actually give you my last two years in about 2 minutes. So I spent most of my time doing team building while I was here before the pandemic. But of course, then this little virus thing happened, and this kind of messed up my business. This is what my March of 2020 looked like. Yeah, that's right. That's 15 canceled programs. So what do I do when challenges happen? I leaned on my past and I came back. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was pre-America Online. I was on the first graphical-based meeting space called Prodigy, which means I've been meeting online for 35 years. In fact, I've even wrote a book. In 2011, I wrote a book called 50 Digital Team Building Games. So for decades, we've been trying to tell people that we could do this, like we do meaningful work online, save the travel and expenses, and that you could have dinner with your family and friends at the end of the day. So anyways, I'm sitting in my office with nothing to do in March of 2020, and I don't make vaccines, but I can make your virtual meetings more engaging. So I put a class on Eventbrite, and it was called Virtual Team Building, and 5,000 people took the class. My publisher, John Wiley & Sons, came back and said, "Hey, John, do you want to write your second book?" And I said, "Sure, let's do that." And what I feel is the cruelest joke from my publisher. They said, "We don't know how long this pandemic thing's going to last, so we need you to rush the book." So I finished the book in 9 weeks. Yes, I wrote a book in 9 weeks, came out, hit the Amazon hot new release, hit the #1 list here in October 2020. And now I spend the majority of my time designing, producing, as well as speaking at and emceeing virtual meetings. In fact, I always want to give you one tip. This is a tip for all my virtual speakers out there in the world. My #1 tip for virtual speakers. Here comes the tip. That's right, the tip is stand up. And all those really famous people on the other screen, they all forgot about that. So let me just share what's happening in my studio here. I'm on a green screen, yes, it's big enough so that I can actually stand in it. And the last part I'm doing here is, this is what's in front of my face, Charlene. This is the
You have a whole mission control panel booth going on over there.
That's right. I'm just day trading when I'm not out here on camera with you. Just kidding. So yeah, that's what I've been up to John, the last 2 years.
I know you well. You're my Zoom guru. You're my engagement meeting guru. And I've been following your work ever since the pandemic. Thank you. So give us a little cross-section of what are the top 3 pain points people are experiencing on the virtual meeting?
In a virtual meeting, oh my goodness, the super pain points are right now engagement, right? There are people having meetings and their cameras are off and they're not chatting. And so people are struggling in terms of getting people to participate in the meeting. The next one is that people are really struggling. They want to figure out how to improve their meeting, but let me tell you, they're burned out and they don't want any additional tech. Well, I showed you all these cool, crazy things that I can do. 99% of the planet doesn't want to do them. They just want to know how to make their meeting better with that. And then the third one is this: how do we just make each virtual meeting better? You know, we're 2 years into the pandemic. If you're doing the same thing you were doing in 2020, people are tuned out. So you got to look for what is new and what is next, Jared.
And as far as the manager running the meeting, what's a tip for them? Manager, director level, what's a tip for them? A couple quick tips for them running their meetings.
So if they have people who are not participating, it turns out that the #1 thing that was supported by Google's research for a product called Aristotle is creating psychological safety in a virtual meeting. It was also the same for their high-performing teams, since I said I came from team building. And the ways to create psychological safety is to make people feel safe so that they feel safe contributing in the meeting. And so that's inviting them to chat, right? Maybe sometimes inviting them to unmute the mic. And one of my key parts is that I design most of my meetings so that at least half of the time, the attendees in the meeting are talking and not me. So I think that's really some of the key tips that I could give to a manager.
And talk to me a little bit about
Yeah.
video. How are you incorporating? Everybody's talking about video, video, video is the big thing on digital. Now you're right. Now you're adding one more tech element to this virtual world that people are already like, I mean, that's half the battle, is to not only have the engaging content, but then have all the tech work. How are you now adding video as a component and making things run smoothly?
Well, I think like this now, everything is video. And, you know, the statistics are things like Netflix is like one of the top 3 providers on there. And like 80% of the content that you're going to get is video somehow, whether it's a virtual meeting or it's some other kind of video that you give. So you got to look about thinking cinematically. That's advice that came from the vice president of virtual experiences at my former employer, Microsoft. And that you got to think cinematically about what you can do here. I truly believe that video is the way, and that one of the things that I know that you're talking about, for instance, advertising, I think live streaming is currently one of my ways that I'm using video. And live streaming is more authentic because you can't go back and edit it. And that gives a bigger engagement point for people to do that. So I'm using things such as Zoom with Restream, and I've been able to stream to over 24 destinations or more every time that I go live.
And John, we've got to wrap up, but I do want to ask you, so many folks, you MC, you're very entertaining, you're very engaging. What could you give the MC of a virtual meeting? What tips could you give them? You said stand up. That was a great tip. But other than that, to kind of, to get things going, to keep things lively, not to mention the fact that they're probably nervous as all get out when they're hosting this to begin with.
You know, for MCs, number one, if you are hosting a large virtual conference, get a great virtual MC, because one is, I really feel like virtual conferences die in the transitions, like the transition from us here, from speaker to speaker or content to content. And a virtual MC will learn how to smooth that out. And the second part is that a virtual MC will handle all the unusual, unknown, unexpected things that can happen. Here's one of my favorite stories. I was the virtual MC for a program, and they lost audio from it was a hybrid. They lost audio from the main session for 32 minutes. As the virtual MC, I came in, I saved the session because I was presenting a session, a slide deck, Charlene, I have never seen before. I was able to improv the 32 minutes until they restored audio, and we were able to save that session instead of having people log off and cancel.
That's why having a professional MC is so important. I think everybody puts their budget and everything else, and then they want a free MC, and then they get upset when things don't run smoothly. That's your job, is to make sure everything runs smoothly. John, it was such a pleasure to have you on today. You are welcome to come back on Digital Champions anytime to give us some of your great virtual tips.
Thank you, Charlene and Jared. Here I have this one thing for you, and that's my walk-off music. See you later.
All right. Well, he must be a blues fan. And Jared, thank you so much. It's so good to see you, as always, from the West Coast with that fabulous smile you got, man.
You too. I'm just soaking up all the tips over here, Charlene.
All right, guys, and if you'd like to learn more about engaging virtual meetings, I do. I don't even have a meeting coming up, and I want to attend one of his meetings. Check him out by first going to dailyadbrief.com. I'm your host, Charlene Chirk. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to learning something new with you next time.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's Addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's Addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.